3-minute countdown, so we get ready here for the big Tuesday night spectacular. As you can tell, I'm sick and hoarse, so we'll see what we can get accomplished here. Welcome to the podcast. We'll be back in 3 minutes. What's up, guys? Good evening. Thanks for joining the Fourth and Goal broadcast, Tuesday Night Spectacular. Let's get this started. All right. David's sick, so we're going to try to do the show as fast as we can, do smoothly. So bear with us. So let's get this started. The biggest news of this weekend is the meltdown in KC and the Buffalo game. What are your thoughts on all the post-game comments and how everything played out? Well, I'm a realist. I mean, the guy was clearly offsides. Them complaining about it. I think there's a lot of frustration that is residual from previous games. Ever since the first game of the season, Kansas City and their fans and the team itself has felt like they've got a target on their back. When Jawan Taylor played for the Jacksonville Jaguars, the dude lined up in the backfield, which is illegal all the time, never got called. He plays for Kansas City. Everybody sees it on national TV because the Chiefs are the champs and because, everybody's out to get them. They're the champions. Everybody points out every little possible little thing that they do wrong. And so it became a point of emphasis. The guy's lined up that way his whole career. The fans don't know that. The people behind the scenes do. Brett Beach, I'm sure, had to have known before signing the guy that's the way he lined up. He's used to him not being called for being in an illegal formation, and now he gets called for it. So it's changed the way the pass protection has been, throughout the whole year. And then you've got him, jumping back off the line. Other teams get away with it all the time. You can say, oh, well, but he's doing it. How come, we don't get, the benefit too? And, you're going to get everybody's best shot. You're the champion. Everything will be, micromanaged and pointed out. We're no longer the lovable Chiefs. We're hated now because we're winners. It just comes with the territory. When the Patriots hadn't won in forever and had never won, and they started to win, they were the darlings of the NFL. And then they won and won and won, and everybody's like, I hate the Patriots, I hate Brady, And so now the tables are starting to turn on Kansas City. It's the same thing,
Yeah.
When the Cowboys were at their best, everybody hates the Cowboys. When the Steelers were at their best, everybody hates the 49ers. It comes with being a dynasty. Greatness will always be targeted. And so, they're upset about calls by the referees that are not made, like the pass interference the previous week against Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They clearly said it should have been pass interference. It wasn't called. This time, a play that was going to allow them to win gets called. And so you can see the frustration building up. There are no excuses. Okay?
No.
There are no excuses. Lost the game fair and square, but Chiefs fans are spoiled now. They now, they want to be the New England Patriot dynasty so bad, because once we started to win, it's kind of like we talked about before. It's the LeBron James goes to Miami syndrome. Not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, and they set themselves up by running their mouths to, for failure. We may never win another Super Bowl in the time that Patrick Mahomes is there. And while I would be disappointed, hey, we got 2, man. We've been to 3. We got 2. We are so fortunate in comparison to other franchises and fan bases.
Yeah.
And we act like we're entitled to win it every fucking year now because we won a couple. And so, as a realist, and I'm a fan. I love football. I love the Chiefs. I don't put just my team up behind me like you do. I have the NFL with all the teams because I love the entire league. Okay? I have my favorite teams. We've talked about it. Minnesota in the NFC. 3-0. I can't believe we won 3-0. What a sad game. I'm glad I couldn't watch it where I'm at.
Don't get me started on Minnesota fans, because I've had a Minnesota fan in my inbox talk about how they're going to win the division. Didn't say nothing to him. Didn't trash talk nothing. Made one comment.
That's a bold
To a Packer fan.
That's foolhardiness.
Foolhardy. And I got like literally 20 minutes of messages about how they're going to win the division, beat us out of the playoffs. But and I agree with you to a lot of extent. The only problem I had is how Patrick Mahomes treated Josh Allen and his podium speech.
And he apologized. I mean, he's upset. It's an in the moment type of thing. Him and Josh are friends.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like he don't know the guy and can't get a hold of him, and they're not going to laugh about this later, depending on how things turn out. Or he'll give him shit. Josh will give him shit. Remember that time when you had to come over and bitch at me because the refs didn't give you the call? What are we doing? What happened?
I'm gonna. Can you see this?
Why don't they call it Thursday night? I can't see everything.
Okay, you see the picture?
What are you trying to show? Can
you guys see the picture? Or do you just see the caption?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So this guy is actually in the Renegades. His name's Coach Kirk Bessard. He actually coached for Buffalo Bills and the Detroit Lions. He runs a group called Pro Football, and he shares in the Renegades. He shared this. Why didn't they call it Thursday night? Look where the Pittsburgh receivers lined up, David.
Yeah.
So
they showed it. Listen, it is the inconsistency that they are upset about. Okay? The inconsistency is the referees do not want to throw a flag every time that there is something going on, especially if it doesn't affect the play. I'll be honest with you. In my opinion,
check this one out.
If the guy hadn't thrown the flag, the one with the fucking Dolphins. That's right.
Last night, of all the nights.
Last night, you're right. Okay. I'm telling you, had the guy not thrown the flag right off the bat, and it had been one of those delayed throw the flags, and he'd have seen what happened with the play, the flag wouldn't have never been thrown.
Exactly.
Okay. The flag wouldn't have been thrown. Okay. But you've got the referees on TV covering the asses of the referees that are on the field. Okay. You've got the referees that are, former guys. They're on the radio. Every one of them said, okay, they haven't been calling this over the last several years. Okay. And if they did, they would give them a warning first. And so that's the expectation that the Chiefs had, that they would get a warning. It happened. It happened at the time when they needed it to be, a winning play. And so that's why they're so upset. They have a beef. Okay, they have a beef. But,
exactly.
Shit happens. Shit happens. And that's
the crazy thing.
And my biggest problem, we all have this problem. The inconsistency, the lack of a call when there should be one, the call when there shouldn't be one. There isn't. We, as a fan base, all fans, must demand, especially now that there is legalized gambling, we must have Sky Judge. Okay? They've got it in the XFL. They've got it in the USFL. It doesn't slow the fucking game down. That's what everybody is all up in arms about. Okay?
Yeah.
Is that it's going to slow the game down if we have to officiate every play. You don't have to officiate every play. But when you show it on television and we can all clearly see it, clearly see something, on TV where we're not splitting hairs, okay, there are plays that need to be reviewed, and then there are blatant plays that we're all like, whoa, whoa, whoa. How come they didn't throw a flag? Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's not pass interference.
I totally agree.
Those types of things, okay, we're all sitting at home, throwing our hands up in the air, okay, because we're not getting the proper call on the field that could be easily overturned by the guy sitting right next to the announcer who's like, I'm an official. I've been an official on the field. I know these guys. He hits a button. They talk about it on TV. He talks about it to the guy on the field. They make the right call. We move on.
Exactly. Totally agree. That's the biggest problem. And I wouldn't be mad at a Sky Judge. So moving on, I'll give you my pointers on Sunday with the loss of the Bears. Now, I know you commented saying I was making excuses, but
that's me giving you shit. You know, NFL Renegades was built on shit talking. And so every once in a while, I still got to do a little. But when it comes to the Detroit Lions, okay, I told you, I warned you, you know, and blind loyalty, I understand, okay. As a fan of the Detroit Lions, you're always going to see the positive side or try to justify why things are happening. Your defense is falling apart. Okay.
Well, see, here's my take, because that's not what I got. And don't get me wrong, our defense definitely has some holes, for sure. We do have some people coming back. Houston's open practice should be right around the corner. CJ Johnson was in the locker room with this helmet on. They're talking about he could be back by Dallas, if not possibly maybe by Dallas at the latest. I'm hoping the Minnesota game. It'd be nice. But here's my take on Sunday's loss. Now, my defense sucked. It was trash the first 10 minutes of that game. It was probably the worst I've seen it all season in that first 10 minutes of that game. So we let Chicago score 10 points. Chicago gets the ball back after we go 3 and out again. They go for a 4th down. After that play, the Detroit Lions defense came up big, stopped them, got the ball back. Our offense scored. Defense came back out, got the ball back again, scored again. Win the halftime 13-10. Now, this is where my defense wasn't great because it gave up 10 points and let Justin Fields own them in the first quarter. But as that game went on, my defense did enough for us to win that game. What killed us was the offense. The offense comes out in the second half, goes straight 4 drives, 3 and out. All 4 scoring drives in the second half of the Bears was less than 50 yards to the end zone due to coaching. Mind you, we just gave up on the run. The run's the reason why our offense got to score twice, because it opened up our passing. They just kept dropping their safeties right there by the damn linebackers. So anytime we try to short pass it, they were right there. Our offense averaged 265 yards all day, total offense. Left our defense out there to dry. Now, granted, our defense was not great Sunday, but if our offensive coordinator could have called a better game and adjusted his play calls, we probably come out on top of that game still. But he didn't. And Chicago's defense was ready for it. Golf on the radio today gave it up. They asked him today, they said, did Chicago change their defense up in the second half? He said, not really. That was his honest answer. He did not notice one change. So I told you right there. They knew what the hell Detroit was going to do all second half on the offensive side of the ball. So now it's not only players making mistakes and our defense playing like shit. Our coaches are now starting to make mistakes. Now, granted, him and Campbell both sounded like they're really serious about fixing this going into Saturday. So I'm hoping at this point it gets fixed because that was a bad game to lose. Thank God for Tony Levito and his agent and his daddy kissing each other. They got one for us. Now we just need them Cincinnati Bengals to pull one out.
The fact that you're bringing that up at all shows how worried you are that Green Bay's on their way.
Hey, I'm not.
I said it, and you tried to deny it. You tried to deny it, but you are scared. You have PTSD. You're like, oh fuck, here they come. You know,
I'm not scared of Green Bay. I'm being honest, but I'm not sitting here not going to say I'm not happy that they took an L last night.
Well, yeah, I mean, you want them to lose, but with you losing, if they win another game, you're shaking in your damn boots because here they come.
Hey, if you heard the damn sports talk here in Detroit, Ron already went on a rant about it, and I'm 100% agree with you, Ron. Put it this way, our guy named Mike on Sports Show, mind you, he got the Lions kicked their station off from hosting the game because they hated this guy so bad because he's a realist, and he's talked shit on the Lions about previous years not doing up with the team. And he literally said today that if Goff doesn't do good in the next 5 games and win a playoff game, he shouldn't get his $40 million contract extension. And we had people calling in today to this guy telling him that we need to bench Goff right now and we need to start Hooker. Them are the kind of calls that's been happening all morning. And it just blew all day today. As people saying we need to bench Goff and put Hooker in. Like, we're 9-4. Don't get me wrong, Goff's played some bad ball, but it's not time to go to a rookie that has not played any NFL snaps. It just blows my mind. Like, the fans here in Detroit are crazy. They're talking about getting rid of Goff, benching him for a rookie, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I seen before my phone got taken by my sister. She's trying to get our service switched from one company to another. I saw Ron's comment about fair weather fans in Detroit. And, listen, they're all that way. They're all that way. It doesn't matter which company, or which team you're rooting for. What you've got is you have, people that are going to badmouth their own team, and they're going to talk trash, and they're going to say, oh, we're, the sky is falling. I can't tell you, this last week, once again, it's all about we don't have any wide receivers. That's Kansas City Chiefs fans' big beef is we don't have any wide receivers. We got receivers. They're not getting open. The timing isn't getting right and being done properly with Patrick. Patrick expects them to be in a certain spot. He expects them to catch the ball. They're not catching the ball. We lead the league in drops. So he doesn't trust his guys. And, people are young and they're not in the spot that he expects them to be in. Or, like I have said before, he always trying to go for the fucking home run ball or get cute, with some cute ass play instead of just running simple stuff. Last week, they ran some simple shit. And when they did, they walked right down the field. Until they turned the ball over. Okay. They walked right down the field. did not have a bunch of catches to Kelsey. They were throwing it to other people, you know. MVS caught a ball and Tony had a little, but they're not running jet sweeps. They don't do the jet sweeps. They ran a couple of screens, which they used to run screens all the time. Okay. And they're not doing that as much as they used to. And then, quick slants. Nope. They don't run those. But when they did the stuff that was easy, they walked right down the field on Buffalo till they either turned the ball over or somebody made a mistake or Patrick got sacked or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they want to blame, the receivers for why things are happening. It's penalties and turnovers and mental errors that is holding back Kansas City despite everything that's happened. They still control their own destiny. Baltimore's got to play San Francisco. They got to play Miami. I know Miami don't look great right now after last night's game, but, you've got these other teams that were ahead of Kansas City, and they're losing too. Miami lost. Jacksonville lost. Only Baltimore's the one that won. And like I said, they got big matchups coming up. So, as the sky is falling for every fan base out there when they think they should be winning and they don't. Okay. And it's the coach's fault, or it's somebody specific's fault, or the referees are out to get you. It's always going to be this way. And like I told a friend of mine today, I don't care if you're the best team in the NFL, you're going to have a week in this season where your team self-destructs. It just happens. Exactly. It's a long season.
That's what the crazy thing is. Like, as much as I was pissed off Sunday at the loss in Detroit, not one time did I want to pick up my phone and be like, fire Dan Campbell, fire AG, fire, Goff. Why would I? The Lions are 9-4. 9-4. Even if we don't win the division and still go to the playoffs, this season is still a success.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not going to sit there and just throw out everything. You leave?
Okay, so let's go through the bowl recap here. Make sure I can share a screen. Make sure I can share a screen here.
Oh, yeah, you can. It's all set up.
Let's see. What am I looking for?
Ron got some comments while you do that. I'm going to read them.
Oh, yeah. Go right ahead. Yeah.
He said, I've seen plenty more times than not which it hasn't been called on a weekly bias. It was a legit penalty. He was just green with the call on that one. He said, defense for the Lions can't do it all. The offense needs to go down the field with the ball more than 5 or 10 yards. And we know Justin Fields is the Lions can't figure them out. I just hate seeing people talk about this person should be fired, this person should be replaced. I mean, come on, you're in the mindset of going to the playoffs now. These stupid Lion fans want to make moves that is a receipt for disaster. Dude, seriously. I mean, there was people on the radio today, Ron, in Detroit, arguing that, okay, like I said, my radio host said today that if Goff can't win a playoff game at home and do good in the next 5 games, that he shouldn't get his extension. They should make him come back on his last year of his contract and play again to see how he does next year before they commit that money. Now, to me, that's a bare minimum of to get a $40 million contract. Do good in your last 4 games and win a playoff game. Just one playoff game. People were calling in today, telling him he set the bar too low for a contract extension. And he's like, do you really think you guys are just going to go win a Super Bowl? Like, come on. Like, you can't do that to a quarterback or any player. It just blew my mind. Did we lose David?
I'm still here, but I'm having technical problems, and I'll have to cut out and come back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, I'll be back.
Alrighty. Exactly, Ron. That's the point. And going to your defense, in the first quarter, you were 100% right. The Lions didn't figure out Justin Fields at all. But after that first quarter, if you notice, Justin Fields wasn't running a lot anymore. Our D line was getting to him. We did get 2 sacks. Huckerson did hit him a couple more times. Barnes got him pretty good as well. I mean, we did figure him out, and our defense gave us a chance to win that game. I mean, we had the lead in halftime, but it was just like the offense just left the building. And that was the crazy part of it. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Dave was just saying, KC fans have been spoiled of all the success they've had. Guess what? The Lions have been really spoiled for Lions fans. If you really want to break down to it, when's the last time we watched the Lions do this good out of the gate of the NFL season? Not many. This is the first time, man. Other than 6-0 one time with John Kitna, and then we lost every game after that and finished like 6-10, I believe it was, or you know what I mean. But other than that year, I mean, how many times have you really been like, "Wow, this is an amazing ride"? And people really didn't think the Lions wouldn't hit a hard spot in their schedule. I mean, Miami has one of the best offense. They lost to Tennessee. Should we go check with their local fan base? Are they saying Trey Tua, Hill sucks? I mean, come on. They lost to a team they should have killed. But it's any given Sunday. That's the thing. Sucky or not, them guys are still NFL players and pro players that can win games. It don't matter what the record is at the end of the week. Your team still has to show up, put the work in, and make the plays, regardless if it's a 2-10 team or 10-1 team. There's no difference. You still got to put the work in, because if you don't, you're not going to get the results. Ron, I'm free. I'm fine with Goff getting a new contract. He has done a lot for this team, and a few bad games is a change in my decision on Goff. Patriots were spoiled for a decade, and now the whole world is falling apart, and they don't know what to do. New England is going to a big shock, and you can't really. It's hard to take a shot at New England and their fan base and their world crush now, because you got to think about it. Them guys had over 20 years. 20 years of dominance with Tom Brady, pretty much. They had all those Super Bowls, all those wins. A lot of magic stuff happened in New England. So I feel for their fans, because guess what? I can't say with football, with hockey, when the Red Wings were winning Stanley Cups, going to the playoffs for 25 years, and then all of a sudden just lost it and didn't make the playoffs. It felt like hockey died. I'm not going to lie. It became hard to turn a hockey game on. To watch us be that bad, because in my whole lifetime, I've never seen our team this bad. I've never watched a rebuild in Detroit, because when I got to really know hockey, they were dominant. And your other comment was, I'm cool with Goff getting paid too. But I will say this. I don't know if I want to really long commit Goff, because there is limitations on Goff. But they said on the radio today here with our announcers, they said everybody wants a superstar quarterback. But when you when you go for that superstar and go for the superstar from a good quarterback that's winning you games, sometimes you get stuck with the Trey Lance. And then got a miracle happen with Brock Purdy and they got saved. He goes, or you go from a good quarterback to Zach Wilson. And then you get a type of Zach Wilson and then you're done. And that's what scares me with the Lions. And that's why I am okay if we keep Goff, especially if we finish this year good, win a playoff game, just keep moving in the right direction. I'm fine with Goff staying because I agree with that. I'm not sure if I'm ready to move on a good quarterback that's winning games and having success here to chase some star quarterback that might not be a star. And I do like the fact that that Hooker is there. This case, for some reason, stuff happens, and next year we have to call upon him. We might have a starter quality in him, but we're not going to see him until preseason to see how he does against NFL defense. But again, it's preseason. A lot of starters won't be playing when he plays. So I still I'm okay with Goff staying 2-3 more years, see what he can do in that time frame, and then we'll know what we'll have with Hooker and know where this team's really at. I mean, I'm cool with that.
Well, I'm back, and we're ready to start the recap of week number 14. 14. So, Thursday night football, New England and Pittsburgh. Bailey Zappi looked like $1 million out there against the Steelers. And I just chalk this up to, one, it's a short week. Two, the Steelers are not working with their starting quarterback. I think that Trubisky is a capable backup, but we're going through right now what everybody is going through. With Miami losing, Kansas City losing, Detroit losing. Teams that are good are going through what I will call the doldrums of the season. It's time for everybody to get their worst out of their system for the stretch run coming up here in a few weeks. And that's my excuse for why Pittsburgh lost to New England.
Also, I want to bring this up because I just read it not too long ago. I guess Mark Ingram Mike Tomlin, the head coach, told the media that he's starting to have issues with George Pickens on the sideline and his sideline antics. I guess being upset because he's not getting the ball thrown his way. And if that is true, I'm hoping he could possibly nip it in the butt before it gets too bad, or stuff could get really ugly because I'm not sure how long Kenny Pickett's going to be completely out. And that just kind of sucks if that's what's going on. And here's, Trubisky really needing Pickens to help him out on the field. And if he's sidetracking the whole team over BS drama, that might really hurt him in this final stretch.
This Houston-New York Jet game is another example of a team in Houston that's a good team that's going through some doldrums. C.J. Stroud got concussed in the game. Zach Wilson comes back after not playing this last week. He was benched for like the 5th time in his career there with the Jets. And he's just like, oh, fuck it, I'll just cut it loose. And he does. He cuts it loose. And when there's no pressure and who gives a damn, suddenly the Jets look like world beaters. One, they were playing at home. I don't think Houston's game plan was, I don't think their game plan worked out like they expected it to. And it shows based on the score. But, here's another example of Zach Wilson showing that he is a capable starting NFL quarterback. When he decides to make some good decisions and just cut it loose and play the game. They were able to run the ball well. The defense played well. I was really stunned at this score. But hopefully the Texans will be able to rebound. I do not expect this kind of performance from the Jets for the rest of the season. They have a pretty tough schedule coming up the rest of the way, including a game against the Dolphins. And really the game of the day, was the Rams and the Ravens. I love this game. I got to see the majority of it. And it was like these teams switched places. The Ravens were throwing it all over the field, and the Rams were running it down the Ravens' throat, Chris.
Yeah, this game came on after the Lions game, and I finished watching it. Of course, I was hoping for the Rams to beat Baltimore. I thought that would have been funny. And it was a pretty amazing game until that overtime came. When that overtime came, I was blown away. I was like, all right, okay, they got to punt the ball. I'm like, all right, come on, hold them defense. And then it was boom, boom, game over. I'm like, holy, you don't get too many walk-off runs like that to win a game in overtime. So every time you see one, it's true. It's always truly a memory. But
yeah,
the Rams, they're not going to be an easy wild card team if they make it. I will say that.
Yeah, they've got a lot going for them. What was lost in all of the F those picks type of situation where they just traded all their picks away for good players to get the Super Bowl win that they did is that the middling to low round picks that they have had have turned into some really good players.
Yeah.
And they're young, they're fast, and they've still got Aaron Donald anchoring that defense. And with Matt Stafford and the weapons that they have offensively, there's some teams that don't want to see them in the playoffs. I'm telling you right now.
Oh, for sure.
They're in the spot where they have a chance to make it. They've got some teams that they got to play that are going to be tough over the next couple of weeks. But we'll just have to see whether or not they can get in or not and who their matchup will be, because as we know, matchups are everything. As long as they don't have to face off against the 49ers in the playoffs, they may have a chance to get to the NFC Championship game because they match up well with a lot of the other teams that are in the playoff run right now.
Yeah.
As far as the New Orleans Saints goes, they just beat up on a weakling team in Carolina. Derek Carr was able to come back and play, so they didn't have to turn to Jameis Winston. And they played, relatively successful football considering their competition. New Orleans gets a victory and stays in the hunt for the NFC South race, even though they're still behind Tampa and Atlanta, which we'll skip to that game real quick, past the Colts and Bengals. Tampa gets a well-needed victory against Atlanta on the strength of Baker Mayfield and that defense. And, the Falcons cannot seem to win a game that is like a must-win for them. If they knock off Tampa, that puts them clearly 2 games ahead in their division. And instead, Tampa now has the lead in the NFC South because of this loss. And so, disappointing for Atlanta there. The quarterback Browning for Cincinnati just continues to show that just because you're a backup doesn't mean you can't play. And with the weapons he's got around him, the defense played well against the Colts. They weren't able to run the football, missing, Jonathan Taylor. Zach Moss was limited. Minshew turned the ball over. And Cincinnati gets the win. And they're still, despite what I said a couple weeks ago, still in the playoff hunt in the AFC.
I was just going to say that. Wouldn't this be some shit that Cincinnati sneaks right back in to the playoff picture. Like, you got rid of us, but we're back. Can Joe Burrow come back at all this year in the playoffs?
I haven't heard how long it's going to be for him to overcome the surgery that he had. I wouldn't think it'll definitely won't be during the regular season. I
No, for
mean,
sure. That's what I'm saying. That would be awesome.
I mean, we'll just have to see what happens. If they continue to win, they're going to get in.
Well,
But I just thought the schedule was going to be too rough for them. Now they play Kansas City here in a few weeks, and that might be the nail in the coffin, depending on how they perform over the next couple.
But you know who they play next week?
Aren't they playing against Detroit?
No, the Bengals play Minnesota.
Oh, well, that'll be an interesting game.
So I just need that backup to give me a little bright light again. One more week. You got one more W. You got one more W in you. Hey, don't worry, because you Chief fans will be Lions fans this week, and you guys can all tell me you guys won't be, but I know damn well you're gonna be rooting for Detroit on Saturday night to beat the Broncos, because for some reason, if KC loses next week and the Broncos win this week coming up, that means
they're having trouble in the division there, ain't they?
Yep.
I don't think it's going to come to that, but I appreciate.
No, I don't think it is too.
Thinking about it.
And
we
crazy.
already talked about Detroit and Chicago, but Jacksonville. I was surprised Trevor Lawrence played. I thought he'd be out for a couple weeks with that high ankle sprain, and he looked like he was not having any problems. There was no ill effects from it. The defense just did not play well, and Joe Flacco is back, and he's the truth. He's back, and he's the truth. He looked like he was the younger version of himself out there with the backbone defense that Cleveland has, able to run the football like Cleveland can. I know that they lost Nick Chubb earlier in the year, but I'm really glad they got Kareem Hunt back in the mix. Him and Ford are still a formidable duo running the ball. And Cleveland's in the thick of getting in that playoff hunt too.
Yeah.
So gotta be keeping an eye on that team.
Like Ron just said, Cleveland is a very scrappy team, and people should be very scared if they make the playoffs.
San Francisco's putting some more nails in Seattle's coffin. They were looking good earlier in the year and actually had the lead in the division during that 3-game losing streak of the 49ers. But they've lost 2 big games in a row now to heavy hitters in San Francisco and Dallas. They've got to play, some pretty good teams here coming up, including Philadelphia on Monday night, which that could signal the end for them on this playoff run. 3-0 Minnesota. I mean, I didn't get to see the game, but basically, they went ahead and benched Dobbs and brought in
Mullins.
Mullins, yeah. They brought in
and
Mullins.
They declared him the starter for the game against Cincinnati.
Have they?
Yes.
Okay. Well, and then, they lost Justin Jefferson again, this time to a chest injury. I'm just stunned that it came down to this score. And it's the lowest scoring game, tied for the lowest scoring game when it comes to an actual victory in NFL history.
You know what is crazy?
Poor Raiders.
You know what is crazy is I made an attempt to watch almost every afternoon game. I was going between the Chiefs, the 49ers. I stopped at the Vikings. I kept moving up and down. And then I woke up at like 7 o'clock. I didn't know what happened. I just passed out. And between one of those games, woke up, just look at the scores, and I'm like, am I watching hockey or is this football right now? 3-0? That was the final score? Like it really did blow my mind when I seen that score.
Yeah, there was a meme
Broncos.
on Facebook about how Las Vegas's hockey team got a victory and only scored one more point than their football team.
Yeah, that's what Ron said. He said this Minnesota Vegas game was very hard to watch. I did watch a lot of it though. um, we got the Broncos and Chargers. Broncos got rolled over the Chargers. According to the reports today, Justin Herbert is out for the rest of the season. He's having a season-ending surgery.
Yeah, I don't know who the backup is there, but they're going to have a hard time winning another game the rest of this year. This could be the end for Brandon Staley, the head coach of the Chargers. Denver just continues to look good here. Solid NFL team now, under the leadership of Sean Payton. It took them a while for them to get, their feet underneath them. But once they had that 5-game winning streak. I know they lost last week to Houston, but Houston is a good team. And now they beat the Chargers. They're only 1 game back, like you mentioned, in the AFC West. I think that Kansas City, even if they were tied, I think Kansas City has a better conference record.
Yeah,
and therefore they would be still in the lead technically.
Yeah,
but
you hold the tiebreakers.
Yeah. But and then talking about in conference, you've got we talked about Buffalo beating Kansas City. Buffalo's got another tough one here coming up. They've got to play against the Dallas Cowboys, and so while their playoff hopes, just like Cincinnati, are basically on life support, they have to continue to win. One more loss will probably knock them out because there are like 6 teams vying for the last 3 spots.
Crazy. AFC is always crazy.
Dallas beats up on Philadelphia, which we predicted. By the way, I predicted Buffalo was going to win. I hope everybody, knows that.
I remembered it. You did for sure.
And my other prediction is Kansas City won't lose again. That's going to be the last loss in the regular season for Kansas City. And I think that depending on how things shake out, they could still get the number 1 seed, but I'm not counting on it. I expect them to have to go on the road this year, but it'll be something that they haven't done before, and so it'll be a challenge to them. I'm looking forward to seeing how it works out. Back to Dallas and Philadelphia. Philly has been beaten up over the last 2 weeks by both Dallas and San Francisco. They've gone through the gauntlet. They played Buffalo, they played Kansas City, San Francisco, Dallas. Now they'll kind of have a little bit of a rest here as they get to play, get an extra day to prepare to play on Monday Night Football. And they get to play against Seattle, who, while they're not a, tomato can, as some people call, some of the weak teams in the league, they're not of the same caliber as the teams that they've been playing over the last month. So hopefully Philadelphia will get back on track for their sake.
Did you see this article Ron just asked us? I did see this article. I shared it in the Renegades. I did say I think it was fake from the source I shared it from. I don't know if another source shared it, but it did say supposedly A.J. Brown called out Hurts on the sideline and got into it and basically called him Daniel Jones. I don't know how true that is.
Whether it's real or not, what we just talked about earlier in the show here is that winning cures all. When you're not winning, the spots start to show, and every team, it doesn't matter how good you are, is going to have a self-destruct moment. And after losing big to, 2 of the top teams in the NFC, maybe it's time for them to have a come together, come to church moment, and everybody's going to, yell and scream at each other. But it's how they come out the other side of the tunnel that's going to matter.
Yeah.
If things get cleaned up and they stomp on Seattle this week, everything that we've heard over the last couple of weeks, any kind of division and stuff like that, it'll all go away.
I agree. I mean, I don't know how true I can believe that, because to me it should take way more than two bad games, especially after you went to the Super Bowl the year prior. That's just my opinion. Now this game, the Green Bay Packers and the Giants. Green Bay Packers should have had an easy victory here, in my opinion. But Danny DeVito, wherever you say his name, and his agent.
It's Tommy DeVito.
Tommy DeVito. And his agent, his dad, they're kissing each other in the stands. His agent's in the suit with the gold necklaces on the camera. It was great. It was priceless. That shit was funnier than shit when they showed him, his agent and his dad kissing, and his agent standing there in the suit with his hands. It was great.
I like having, two games on Monday night. The only problem is that instead of having them offset, they're running concurrently at the same time. And so I was sick. I'm still sick. I got to just past halftime in both these games, and I had to catch the highlights. When I went to bed, the Dolphins and the Packers were winning. And I woke up this morning to the Giants and the Titans have won. And I had to watch the highlights and listen to Pro Football Talk. I listened to Dan Patrick. I listened to Colin Cowherd. I did all my normal stuff today. And I'm like, my goodness, Tennessee Titans got a quarterback, Will Levis. Okay.
Yes, they do.
And I think that this exposes Miami a little bit. The fact that two of their touchdowns came from in close because of turnovers by Tennessee. But I was listening to a replay of, I think it's First Things First. Nick Wright said, that's the most fraudulent 27-point game I've ever seen in my life. He said, one was an interception return for a touchdown inside the 5. That's how they got 7 points. And 2 of them was rushed in from inside the 10 after turnovers by Mostert. That's where you get 21 of the 27 points at. He said, for a team that's supposed to be so high-powered on offense, Tennessee does not have a great defense. They are a tough, gritty team, but the fact that the offense was only able to come up with 6 points without the help of the defense is unbelievable. And
it is pretty funny.
That's why they lost that game. And then, the Packers are getting pass happy instead of, we got Jordan Love and he's great now. And so they're not running the football with authority like they did, the previous couple of weeks. When they had this 3-game winning streak, they ran the football and were a well-balanced offense. But when you try to throw it on every down and you're not running the ball with any kind of success, you set yourself up to lose the game. Now,
exact same reason
Green Bay went right down the field and scored a touchdown to take the lead, 22-21 at the end of the game. They went for 2, which I thought was an ill-advised running play to Jaden Reed. Why are they always trying to run it in on the 2-point play? That drives me crazy. Don't try, if you're going to run it to the outside. Don't try some fancy dumbass play or you need to throw it. But because they didn't get the 2-point conversion, that's basically the reason why they lost this game. They allowed too much time on the clock for, even though it is a inexperienced rookie quarterback, they've got, the pieces around them. They made the playoffs last year. Okay. They're a capable winning team. And Tommy DeVito, the reason his agent and and the kissing and all that shit is because as he wins, pocket that money, man. Endorsements in New York. He's a New York kid playing for the Giants. Shit.
Do you think Tommy's actually playing himself to be the next starter for the Giants?
Well, I mean, he ain't going to lose the job this season. You know, he ain't going to lose the job the rest of this season if he keeps playing the way he is. Now, if he gets hurt, they'll have to bring in Tyrod Taylor. But Danny Dimes is out for the year, and there could be a quarterback competition going into next season.
Ain't that crazy ain't that crazy if Tommy wins this battle? Let's just per se he goes in there, battles Jones, wins it out. And then the Giants are paying Jones to back up Tommy on a rookie deal, $40 million to do so.
Hey, listen, there are times when the real quarterback of your team falls into your lap. I'm not saying that that's what's happened here. It's too small a sample size right now for us to say that. But look at Brock Purdy in San Francisco.
Yep.
Okay. They had Garoppolo, who's a winning quarterback. They had
Trey Lance.
They had Trey Lance that they drafted with the number 1 pick. And yet you give the ball to Brock Purdy and the offense runs better than it ever did. They don't turn the ball over. Things are going well. You don't have to worry about injuries for the most part. And so that's why they jettisoned those other guys. The Seattle Seahawks years ago signed a big money contract to a dude that was playing for the Packers. And then they drafted Russell Wilson in the 3rd round. And by the time the preseason was over, the guy they gave all the money to was sitting on the bench, and Russell Wilson was starting for the Seahawks. So, I mean, it won't be the first time that a guy who was given a bunch of money, who they put their faith in, they had to pay him to keep him. Okay? They had to pay him to keep him. They didn't have any other options at that time. They didn't have a high draft pick to bring somebody else in. There wasn't a free agent on the market that they can say was markedly better that they'd be willing to pay for. And so they had to pay Daniel Jones. But, as they say, there are outs in contracts for a reason. He's duped in for this year. I bet you next year they'll have to continue to keep him on the roster. But if he can't be better than Tommy DeVito and they end up in a quarterback controversy and he ends up playing and starting, by the end of next year, they'd have to let go of Danny, you know? And that could happen. It could well happen.
Ron has some comments. He said, I think Miami has issues going into the playoffs. You can't depend on Hill on every play or in every game. You're possibly right. And then he said, I'm going to stick up for DeVito and the Giants as much as it hurts this team. This team looked horrible all year. They're on a 3-game winning streak. And as a guy knowing how bad things could be, anything to cheer for is fun. I've been happy for their fans. I agree. I really don't get me wrong. Not only why I enjoyed the game because it was against Green Bay, overall, just watching him play and make plays and then winning the game was pretty good. You know what I mean? The big benefit, it was against Green Bay, and the Lions needed Green Bay to drop one.
All right, we're going to look at week number 15 now, starting with the Thursday night football game where you've got the Chargers without Justin Herbert. They're going to have to rely on the running game of Austin Eckler and to play against the Raiders, which is the team that couldn't put up any points against, Minnesota. But I think that will be, stuck in their mind. They're on a short week. It's a quick turnaround. This is a divisional game. The Chargers don't have near the defense that Minnesota does. I think the Raiders win this game easily.
I think the Raiders win too. But if their offense plays like it did last week, it could be a long, long game. Can you imagine a 0-0
It might be an
tie?
unwatchable Thursday night game. Poor Al Michaels.
I got a question. Wouldn't it be some shit if these guys go to OT 0-0 and tie at 0-0? Wouldn't that be some shit though? I don't think that's ever been done before.
I don't know. I'm sure it has. There's been ties in the NFL.
No, I'm talking about with no one scoring a point.
You can probably look that up and find out. Saturday, we got 3 games. And the early game is the Minnesota Vikings at 7-6 against the 7-6 Bengals. Both teams are fighting for their playoff lives. We're going to see Nick Mullins at quarterback for the Vikings against Browning, the quarterback for the Bengals. And, when it comes to overall talent, I think the Bengals have more than the Vikings do. I think it's shown out in the fact that they've been to the last 2 AFC championship games. I think that the way Browning has been playing within the system, the fact the Bengals are playing at home, I like the Bengals to win the game.
Me too. And to answer my question, and as much as I don't want to say this, because I really wish I didn't look this up, but it holds the record. New York Giants played the hosts of Detroit Lions to a 0-0 tie, November 7th, 1943.
Well, there you go.
I really wish my team wasn't involved in that record. But yes, I agree with you. I got the Bengals winning this.
We got 2 more 7-6 teams. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are coming off of a Thursday night game, so they've had 9 days to prepare for this one because it's a Saturday game instead of Sunday, against the 7-6 Colts, who's going to have a bit of a short week because they played Sunday, so they only get 6 days, and or 5.5 or whatever. And both teams are coming off of a loss. The Steelers, are a team that are predicated on their defense. They're not used to losing back-to-back-to-back games. I think that having the extra time will definitely help them out. And I've liked the Colts throughout the season, and I could see why the Colts could win this game. But I think that the defense is at least as good as, Cincinnati, and Cincinnati beat the Colts up last week. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh in the game. I think it'll be a low-scoring affair, maybe 13-10, Pittsburgh.
I'm going to take the Colts. And only why I say that is I just don't trust the offense of the Steelers. I don't trust Mitch. Now, if Kenny Pickett comes back and ends up playing in this game, then I'll roll the Steelers. But if Mitch is in there, I got the Colts.
Yeah. Well, then we got the 7-6 Broncos against the 9-4 Detroit Lions. And, here we got Denver. Once again, we've talked about how they're an improved team. They've been improving throughout the year. While Detroit Detroit was really good early, and now they're starting to kind of fall back by the wayside here. Detroit needs this victory. They need to win this game, and I want them to win. But I'm going to take the Denver Broncos to win the game because I don't think that the Detroit Lions can stop the Denver Broncos. I think that Denver will have a game plan to run the football. Russell Wilson will scramble around and make some plays. I think it'll be a very tight game. Something around the lines of 23-20, Denver with the victory.
I think that I'm taking the Lions.
No, big stunner.
Hey, taking the Lions. We need this win. It's at home, indoors, the fans, prime time. I feel pretty confident that my team's going to figure it out and bounce back. If not, I'll be here next week eating crow.
First game on Sunday, we got the Atlanta Falcons at 6-7 that need to get a victory over the Panthers. Panthers, I don't expect to win another game this year. I'm just going to say Falcons win.
Falcons should win this game. And if they want to try to still get in the playoffs, they got to get this victory.
Chicago Bears at 5-8 against the 8-5 Browns. Browns will start Joe Flacco again. And, the Bears are an improving team. I could see them putting up some points, but the offensive line is weak in Chicago. Myles Garrett and the boys with Cleveland are going to feast. I think that Fields can get away from the pass rush. I think he can run around. I don't think this will be a low-scoring game. I do still think it will be a close game, but I will take the Browns to win at the end.
I got the Browns too. It's going to be a good game. I want to see how Justin Fields actually does against the Browns defense. That's going to be the real test.
2 6-7 teams battling for the playoffs. You got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Green Bay Packers. I think the Packers maybe got a little ahead of themselves after beating Kansas City. I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a team that have a capable defense. I think their offense, kind of runs based on whether or not the running game is being effective or not. The Packers have done a good job against the run. And while I think that because the Packers were kind of embarrassed in prime time, they're going to have something to say in this game. I like the Packers to win against the Tampa Bay Bucks.
This is tough for me because I could see Green Bay winning this game, but I could see Tampa's defense showing up too. But I'll go with the Packers.
5-8 Jets at 9-4 Dolphins. I don't expect the Jets to have near the kind of performance that they did, on Sunday. The Dolphins have already beat the Jets in New York and against Zach Wilson on Black Friday. And so, with an opportunity here to double up, catch up, and restake their claim to the number one spot in the AFC, I think the Dolphins win the game against the Jets easily.
Same here.
Continuing with the Sunday games, we've got the 5-8 New York Giants against the 6-7 New Orleans Saints. Giants are on a 2-game winning streak now that they've got Tommy DeVito at quarterback. But now he's got to go on the road. And, he's got to go down to New Orleans. We know how loud that stadium can be. New Orleans needs this game badly so that they can stay in the playoff hunt for the NFC South Division. and possibly a wild card. I think that with Derek Carr playing for the Saints and them playing at home, I think the Giants can give them a tough game, but I like the Saints to win the game.
I want to take this. I'm going to take the Saints too. Ragats DeVito with the win. He's rolling. He's rolling with the win.
Houston Texans at 7-6, one game back of the Jacksonville Jaguars in the division. This is a divisional matchup against the 5-8 Tennessee Titans, who are riding high after that victory against the Miami Dolphins. I think that this will be a really good game. I think this is going to be a really good game. I think that, it is a battle of the young quarterbacks trying to establish themselves in the NFL. Stroud has looked so good, and hopefully he'll be out of concussion protocol and playing for Houston. If Stroud doesn't play for Houston, Tennessee wins the game outright. But if Stroud plays for Houston, I think that this will be a back-and-forth affair. The better team should win. The better team this year has been Houston, and I'll take the Texans to win in Tennessee.
I'm right there with you as long as Stroud's in the quarterback. If not, then it's Tennessee for sure. But I can't disagree with that.
Patriots at 3-10 kind of got a lucky break last week against Pittsburgh. Kansas City's coming off of back-to-back losses to both Green Bay and Buffalo. Time for them this is a get-right game for Kansas City on the road. I expect them to put up at least 30 points, and Kansas City wins the game.
Oh, you guys ready for the shocker of the week? Bill Belichick. We didn't cover this in the beginning, but it is official, legit. Bill Belichick will not be the coach of the Patriots at the end of the season. They are completely splitting at the end of the season. So it's definitely end of the air. So my underdog story of the season, New England smacks Patrick Mahomes in the mouth and gets a victory for their coach on his way out the door. Like, as much as I would laugh my ass off to happen, I'm going to roll with KC on this one. But it would be funny if that happened. I just wanted to get you Chief fans all wound up, because other than David's excluded from this comment, but the rest of those Chief fans all week in Renegades, all they've been doing is wah, wah, wah. They need the tissues.
You ever see those I don't know what it's like. It's like a Tinder thing where they're talking back and forth, and there's the girl, and then there's Kermit the Frog.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kermit the Frog. Yeah, well, I'm showing you my cucumber. Anyway, we got the 10-3 49ers at the 3-10 Cardinals. I don't expect the 49ers to let off the gas. The Cardinals are no match for the 49ers if they play it the way they should. 49ers should win this game and continue to hold on to the number one seed in the NFC.
I agree with this. But I'm just going to say, wouldn't it be funny watching San Francisco dominate the Philly, win last week, and then lose to the Cardinals? That would be priceless.
Well, I mean, stranger things have happened in the league. I don't expect that to happen.
Me either. But it's still priceless.
The 4-9 Commanders, coming off of a bye, will be playing at the 6-7 Los Angeles Rams. And the Rams, they almost beat Baltimore. And so here's a team that's from that same area, Washington, comes all the way across the country to play at the Rams. I think that Washington kind of has given away some of their best defensive players through trades here near the end of the year. I think the writing's on the wall that there will be a new coach in that with the team. While I think they may have their quarterback in Sam Howell, and I expect Eric Bieniemy, and their team to put up some points, I don't think their defense is going to be able to stop the Rams. I'll take the Rams in this game.
I'm taking the Rams too.
The 10-3 Dallas Cowboys travel to the 7-6 Buffalo Bills. The Cowboys need the win in order to maintain their spot in the NFC East. The Bills need the victory to stay in the playoff hunt in the AFC. Now, the Bills are coming off of a big win against Kansas City, so I wouldn't be stunned at all if they had a letdown here against Dallas. I think Dallas is the better team. Vegas actually has Buffalo favored right now to win.
Well,
if you are a gambling person, listen to me. Get on your gambling site and bet on the Cowboys now while the Bills are still favored so you can get the better money. Dallas is going to go to Buffalo and dominate the game.
I just looked up the weather. It's supposed to be clear and 40 degrees up.
Ron thinks there's supposed to be weather, but I don't care if it's cold or not.
No,
that team's defense travels.
No,
Micah
you're
Parsons
right.
is going to own Josh Allen in the backfield this weekend.
No, you're right. I'm looking at the weather for Buffalo. It's supposed to be 41 and clear. So it's going to be cold, but it's going to be clear. So now if it was snowing, I would see why Buffalo would be favorite. So, you know what I'm saying? But no, I'm rolling with the Cowboys.
This is a really good game, and this is a challenge here for both these teams. Both AFC playoff teams, 10-3 Baltimore Ravens, coming off of a narrow victory at home, travel to Jacksonville to play the 8-5 Jacksonville Jaguars, who barely lost this last week. And so to Cleveland and their defense. And so they're used to seeing, defenses that are tough. Baltimore is going to have some defense for Jacksonville. But if Trevor Lawrence is mobile like he was this last week, if he's still mobile, I think that they'll have something for Baltimore. I think this is going to be a really great game. It's the Sunday night football game on NBC. I want Jacksonville to win so bad, but I think that Baltimore's probably going to win. I'm going to root for Jacksonville,
though. I'm thinking Baltimore should win this game, but I'm pulling for Jacksonville too.
Yeah. Monday Night Football, we talked about this one earlier. Philadelphia goes to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. The Eagles need to win to stay within range of the number one overall spot in both their division and in the NFC. Seattle must win this game if they plan on being in the playoffs this year in the NFC side. If they lose here, I think that this is the nail in the coffin for Seattle. I'm going to take the Eagles on the road.
Same here. I'm rolling with the Eagles because there's no guarantee that Gino's playing this week. So even though Drew Lock showed glimpses last week that in the beginning of the game, before the game got out of hand, that he could score, I just don't trust them to beat Philly. Philly gets a break and gets a get-right game in my eyes.
Well, buddy, listen, I appreciate everything. I'm glad we were able to get through it.
No
Good
problem.
luck to your team this week.
Same to you.
And want to thank everybody for joining us here on the Fourth and Goal Sports Podcast. You can catch us every Tuesday, barring some problem. And we'll recap the previous week's games. We'll preview the next week's games. We're rolling into the end of the season here, heading towards the playoffs. Both our teams got a real good shot of getting in and still having a chance to have that week 1 rematch at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Hey, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
After going through everything we've went through right
You
now,
wouldn't like
we got
the
this turned
outcome,
around
but
and
it'd
made
be
it.
all right to get there, wouldn't it?
Hey, you can never say the outcome because you guys all said, hey, a lot of all you Chief fans said there was no chance in hell. The Lions would win week 1. Look what happened.
Well, you better keep an eye on that rearview mirror because Green Bay and Minnesota are still coming for you. And I'm worried about your game with Denver this week.
Oh, it's going to be a tough game, but I feel like the offense is going to get it going, and I feel like the defense is going to show up. Because, like I said, the first 10 minutes of that game was horrible on defense. After that, our defense was pretty strong for the rest of the game. And we could have won if we would have just had offense that could move the ball. But it really comes down to where I believe it comes down to Goff. The turnovers got to stop. We got to run the ball. We got to play our game. Well, just like you said, you can't go in there and just stone the ball, make stuff that working. You got to do simple plays. If we make the simple plays and move the ball, that leaves opportunities to add a trick play to JMO, sector they want to do. They just got to come out there and play the game of football that we started playing with and stick to it.
I've got him in my fantasy league, and man, he is Jekyll and Hyde. Some weeks he's great, and other weeks is nothing.
Who do you got?
Jameson Williams.
Yeah. That's another thing. Like, JMO is only getting 2 targets a game. And that's something.
That's something that we should talk about before we get off of here. How many fantasy football leagues are you in, and how many playoffs did you make?
This year, I only did 1. I normally do a few. For some reason, I only did 1 in our league, and I'm actually disappointed because I went 8-0 in our league. And then I lost, then I won, then I lost, then I won. And I lost last week just because I knew Philly was going to screw me because I needed Brown and Swift to have a good week. And I knew Dallas, good chance was going to shut that down. So I dropped all the way from first place to second. Now I'm in 3rd place. So I missed the 2 first-round the 2 buys.
Well, I started the season with 11, and then, I got dismissed from those 2 by the jerkwads from Baltimore. So I'm in 7 of 9 in the playoffs. I'm the number 1 seed in 3 of them. And got a lot of the same players on my team. I'd have had an even better time this year, but some jerkwad listened to me really close while we were doing a podcast and stole all my players.
Hey, I only stole 1 player, and honestly, buddy, I almost benched Mahomes last week for Stroud. I fucking thought about it, and then I didn't.
Want to trade him? I'll take him now.
Well, unfortunately, trade deadline.
I know.
But, I took him just because I really wanted to win fantasy. I've came close to winning a league. I've never won a championship. I've came close a few times. I always either get bit with injury bugs at the beginning of the year, and then I got to work my ass off to the waiver wire just to make it in the playoffs, or I start out really good, and then I have injury problems right before the playoffs. And this year, I don't have really any injury problems, but my players have really tapered off. But I feel like there's been a couple weeks Mahomes got me a lot of points. But then there's been other times like, I could have plugged any quarterback. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was like, it was no huge benefit this year. Now, maybe last year.
Yeah. Hey, don't take my guy next year, and that won't happen to you.
You know what? It's probably right. That's my luck. That I would steal a quarterback and be like, yeah, he's right. This guy's going to put up some points, and then it don't work out for me.
I'm sick. I'm going to bed.
I feel you, but I appreciate it.
We'll see you next time.
All right, guys.
Picks with David on Sunday. where I'll make my official picks on my video.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you for joining us. Later.